All right, everyone, it looks like it's just about time to get started. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera on here, so hopefully you can see us. Oh, there we are. Okay, so I'm actually here with my partner in crime today, Dr. Jim Duban, if you can scoot just a little bit this way for us. And he'll be presenting a little bit later on, so I'll actually have him scoot right back out of the frame. But we're just going to get started. I wanted to let you know that we have a guest speaker today, Dr. James Duban, so it's going to be a really exciting session. If y'all could just one more time, I know I already asked some people to do this, raise your hand if you can hear me. There's a raise hand button. And I think for y'all it's perfect. Yes, everybody got it. All right. Still waiting on a few, but it looks like everyone can hear me. That's good. All right. And then you'll also see a chat window down there. And if you can go ahead and test that chat window out for me, just type in your name, where you're from, maybe what grade you're in, so we can all kind of get to know each other while we're waiting. So I'll put mine in first here. Denton, Texas. There we are. Perfect. All right, I see you, David. Awesome. All right, nice to meet you, Liam. Hi, Alan and Houston. Great. All right, and Ryan from Allen. Great. We have Alan from Houston and Ryan from Allen. This is going to be great. All right, Kennedy from Dallas. All right, you're a little bit local. Fantastic. So while everyone is still taking care of that and introducing yourselves, I'm just going to go ahead and let you know that the chat window is there for you to use. If you have any questions while I'm presenting or while Dr. Duban is presenting, just go ahead and put those questions in the chat box there, and we'll get to them at in between sections. So feel free to use that chat window pretty much throughout the presentation. We may not answer your question immediately, but we will go through the questions at the end. So let's go ahead and get started over here. And there we go. There's the chat window slide there. So just use that throughout the presentation. All right. So here's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to do a brief, I guess, 20-minute presentation, something like that, over kind of just TAMS in general. What is TAMS? What we do here. Then Dr. Duban is going to step in and give us a great presentation on research at TAMS and really the value, the how, and the why we participate in research at TAMS. And then at the end, we'll actually have time for questions. It should go about an hour, might go under, might go over, but we'll try and keep it around there. All right. So our first big section is, what is TAMS, right? So there are really 4 key components to the TAMS experience. The first is that we're regular college admission classes, early college admission. These are regular college courses taught at the University of North Texas. All TAMS students actually participate in regular university classes like other university students. So this isn't a special section of university courses taught for TAMS students. They are just normal, straight university classes taught at UNT. The second key component is that we're a residential program. So actually all of our students live on campus, and that is a requirement of the program. We don't have any commuting students in TAMS. So all of our students live in a residence hall, and we'll talk about that residence hall a little bit later on. So residential program, not commuting. Third component is it's a 2-year program. So generally students come to us and apply in their sophomore year, and then they attend TAMS for their junior and senior years. In rare cases, we'll have exceptional 10th graders considered for admission, so you would apply in your freshman year, but that's very, very rare. I'd say 9.9 out of 10 times, if that's even possible, we actually just look at sophomores for admission, and then juniors and seniors would attend the program. And then finally, we're very unique. We're the only program of our kind in Texas. We have a special partnership with the state of Texas that actually allows us to operate this way. And we're kind of like dual credit flipped on its head. In dual credit classes, you take high school classes at high school for college credit. In our program, you're taking real college courses for high school credit almost. So it's a very unique and almost one of its kind in Texas type of experience. So we're just going to move on from that. And speaking of being kind of unique is that we're really the best of both worlds. We're the blend of these 2 very unique educational experiences, high school and college. We have the academic rigor of college blended with kind of the support and guidance of high school. So you can kind of see in this Venn diagram here, we have high school being very structured, your family or your guardians actually, you're probably living with them, commuting to school, they're taking care of you, meals, laundry, all of that. And your teachers and your family are also watching out for your grades. Well, in college, the normal college experience, none of that really exists, right? You're living in a residence hall, you're responsible for your own meals, taking care of yourself, and you're responsible for your own grades. So we like to say that TAMS is kind of the happy medium, the perfect blend of those 2 educational experiences. We have that academic rigor, but we also have those support systems in place to make sure that you don't just feel out to sea. Speaking about more of those academic opportunities, all classes at UNT as TAMS students are regular UNT classes taught by UNT faculty. This is going to be something that's repeated to you many, many times. It's something that we're really proud of, that all TAMS classes are regular UNT classes taught by UNT faculty. We have 2, I guess, academic tracks, so to speak. Some students in their junior year elect to take biology instead of computer science, and then some students take computer science. So that's kind of an option that you have a flexibility with our core curriculum. And you can view our entire core curriculum in that info sheet that I've attached. So if you have any questions about what classes are required for TAMS students to take, that info sheet that's in the attached materials will actually answer those questions for you. Students will have up to 72 plus hours of credit by graduation, and that's college credit, that's transferable credit to most state schools. Obviously it's up to the school that they choose to go to after TAMS whether or not they accept that credit, but most schools have been very cooperative in our transferable credit. So that's 72 hours of college credit by the time that you're a senior. Some more academic opportunities that we have. Mentored research is a huge one that Dr. Duban will talk about in just a few minutes. And we also have a great academic support. That's when we were talking about just the support that we offer to make you not just feel like you're alone in this. We have academic counselors, and we have college advising, and we have tutors. So we make sure that our students feel supported in all of their academic ventures. So now we're going to actually play a game. Speaking about academic opportunities and research, this is a game I like to call Name That Research. So we have here 3 pictures of TAMS students doing research, and you'll notice in these pictures, these are real labs done by real professionals and scientists in the cutting edge of their fields. So what I'd like you to do, I'm going to read off the name of one of the research projects that these students are conducting, and you're going to guess which picture you think that name or title belongs with. So it's a little bit of interactive fun here. So the first name or title is Epigenetic Effects of Hypoxia on the Morphology and Physiology of Drosophila. So top left, bottom, top right, feel free to use the chat window so everybody knows your guesses. I'll repeat it one more time. Epigenetic effects of hypoxia on the morphology and physiology of Drosophila. Any guesses? Oh, we've got some now. Top left, top right, bottom, bottom. The correct answer is, drum roll, it is the top left. It is the top left. So that's the havers that time are the top left guess. So here's, whoop, I just scrolled. I'm so sorry. We skipped ahead. All right, so the next one for you is investigation of the JAK-STAT signaling pathway in the head and neck squamous cell carcinoma. Which one do y'all think that is? One more time, I'll read it for you. Investigation of the JAK-STAT signaling pathway in head and neck squamous cell carcinoma. So we've got between 2 now, top right or bottom. Oh, we've got a bottom. Anybody else? Any guessers? And the answer is, actually it's the top right. So the top right picture would be the investigation of JAK-STAT signaling pathway in head and neck squamous cell carcinoma. And then the bottom picture, which I guess we can all guess by process of elimination, is dynamic effect of microparticles in a liquid. So I guess the point of all of this is real research that our students are participating in. It's with faculty members on the cutting edge of their field really participating in research for the future. So it's not just like a science fair. This is real stuff. All right. And I saw one question up there. I promise I'll get to it at the end, and you might have to remind me. But let's go ahead and move on for now. Student life. Okay, so let me see if I can find that question. I saw there was one question. I scrolled right past it after everybody started voting. Give me just a minute here. Where did it? Oh, okay. Does room and board include a meal plan for the cafeteria? That's a great question, and I promise we'll get to it. So hold that thought. We'll get to it in just a minute. All right, so let's talk a little bit about student life. So I mentioned earlier that this program is actually residential and that the students all live on campus. So this is kind of going to be a little bit about that. So where students live at McConnell Hall. This residence hall houses only TAMS students. It's co-ed, genders are separated by wing. We have restricted access with 24/7 desk staff. So anytime, day or night, mom and dad have a question about their student, you can call that desk and they will be there for you. We have a lot of common space. You can see some of the pictures down there in the bottom of students studying or not studying. We have a lot of common space in that. So there's a really unique community. And you'll note there that we actually have 374 TAMS students in the program. So it's you can imagine 374 high school students living in one building under one roof. It's pretty exciting and dynamic. So speaking about the community, some of the support we have in place for our students, we have 21 live-in staff. That puts the ratio of students to staff at about 1 to 18. We have 2 full-time hall directors, 4 program advisors, and 15 resident assistants. Who the program advisors and the resident assistants you've seen there, I've kind of put it in quotes, half-time. They are so dedicated to making sure the TAMS students are successful. So I felt it was a little bit unjust to just label them part-time. They really give probably the better half of their life to our poor students. We actually have a lot of, I guess, checks in place to make sure that students are supported and on the right track for academic success. We have room checks. We have curfew at 11 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday because we're introducing them to that independence. And we have a lot of policies in place to make sure that students are successful, and those policies are generally enforced by our student life staff there. We also have on-call professionals like the Assistant Dean of Student Life, the Assistant Director of Student Life, and even an Academy Psychologist who's specific to TAMS students. So there's a lot of support there, I guess, is the bottom line. We want to make sure TAMS students, even though they're living away from home, they feel at home with our staff and our community. And we also have a lot of student organizations. So you'll see there, I'll let you kind of read. We have over 40 clubs for students to participate in. A lot of students have, I guess, anxiety about leaving behind their student organization at their current high school, but on 9 times out of 10, that same student organization would exist in some capacity at TAMS. So we have so many clubs. These are just a few here, but almost anything that your student would want to get involved in, we have available for you. So what does it cost? This is going to get to that question that we had a little bit earlier. So what does it cost? I'd like to just, and this is in bold italics and yellow to make sure that everyone knows, all of our estimates are estimates. They're not hard and fast numbers. They might change year to year. So we found that our estimates are pretty accurate. So they're a good ballpark to go off of. But just in general, remember, these are only estimates, and you'll hear me say that a few times. So what does it cost? Tuition, university fees, and books are all paid for by TAMS with no cost to you. The only things that we ask for are room and board and a program charge. Room and board does include a meal plan, so it's both housing and the meal plan for the semester. And these prices listed here are actually for the year. So it'd be around $7,760 for a year, and then around $1,400 for a year as well as a program charge. Now I'd like to emphasize here as well that financial aid is available. We have a lot of people who think for some reason or another that filling out the FAFSA is a waste of time. Please, please don't become one of those people. The FAFSA is just there to help. It's not there to hurt. And I just always recommend people fill it out early, even if you think you won't qualify for anything, or even if you think you don't need it now. Sometimes things happen later on that we can't anticipate, and it'd be really handy to have that FAFSA filled out. So fill it out now, fill it out early, and just, you know, don't hesitate in doing that. So this is kind of a 2-year cost estimate comparison with UT Austin. Again, these are just estimates, and it's based off of what we had last year, so it might be slightly different now. Yes, this is the total for 2 years right here. So you'll see that TAMS is actually significantly lower than pretty much any other school I can think of, especially with UT there, poor things. So it is very economical for the 2 years. And as a kind of bonus, we actually even have, now that we've started up, a TAMS to Eagle scholarship that would allow students to stay at UNT for their remaining 3rd and 4th years in college and graduate in the 4 years, and that would be also at no cost to them. So if they choose to remain at UNT, they could essentially go for very, very low cost. So that's another opportunity. So do we have any questions about costs of TAMS? I'm going to pause here because usually that's something that people have a lot of questions about. So the cost for 2 years was the previous slide. I just want to make sure you got that, David. Anybody else have any questions about the cost of TAMS? All right, moving on. Let's talk about how to apply. So eligibility, you need to be a U.S. citizen. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you actually need to have a green card. If you have questions about the type of visa that you have, or if you're wondering whether or not you're eligible based on your citizenship, go ahead and take the residency questionnaire on our website, or you can email me and I'll put you in contact with the people that might be able to answer your questions. But by and large, we just ask a U.S. citizen or green card. You must be a Texas resident, so you have to live in Texas. You can't move to Texas. It has to be for a full year. Like I said, sophomore, in some rare cases, we do allow freshmen to apply, but 9.9 times out of 10, it's going to be a sophomore that we're looking for. We ask that you complete geometry, algebra 1, and algebra 2 by the time you come to TAMS. So if you're taking algebra 2 right now as a sophomore, that'd be okay, because you had finished it by the time you come to TAMS. And you must take the SAT, not the PSAT, the SAT. So that's an important distinction there. So what our application includes is an online application. You can find it on our website. We also ask for waiver of access forms for your teacher evaluations. Under FERPA laws, you're allowed to view your recommendation letters, but you actually have the right to waive that ability. We actually recommend that you waive those recommendation rights because it lets teachers be a bit more honest with how they evaluate you if they feel like you're not looking over their shoulder. We also ask for your SAT scores sent to that code 6481, and we ask for your transcripts and report cards from grades 7 through 8. We do not require the essay portion of the SAT, so it's just math and verbal. If you're interested in writing and you're a brilliant writer, you can definitely send us your writing and we'll consider that. So it's not necessary, but it's a possibility. You can and must have more than one teacher evaluation, and the ones that you need are listed on our website under under application there. And I saw one more question I want to make sure I get to. What are the most important factors of the SAT? Let me answer this one at the end. I want to make sure I'm very thorough with that. So I'll make sure I get back to that one, Blessing. Thank you. All right, so here are the big numbers. December 10th is our early decision deadline. That means that everything is turned in by December 10th, including SAT scores. So at this point, you're probably looking, if you haven't taken the SAT already, you're probably looking at regular decision, which is going to be February 25th. And that is our last deadline for application for the fall of 2017. So those are the two deadlines that you need to have all of your application information in by. A few more dates to remember if you're very serious about applying. January 21st would be the interview day for early decision. And then March 25th would be the interview day for regular decision. So once you've turned in all of your paper materials and your SAT scores, all of that, we'll review them and then based on that information, invite you or not invite you to an interview. And that interview will be part of our decision process. So if you're serious about applying, make sure that that's marked off on your calendar. Summer orientation is also something that you should mark on your calendar because it's mandatory if you are accepted into TAMS. So, so often we have students who have planned family vacations over summer orientation and we're just like, well, that's unfortunate because this is a mandatory program. So June 9th and 10th, mark it on your calendars now if you're serious about being a TAMS student. All right, so we're about to move into research. Let me get these last two questions here. Let's see, I'm going to get Blessings first because I saw hers up here. Where did it go? I think I just skipped over it. Okay, there we go. What are the most important factors of the application? Is the SAT score a big part? Yes, so it is holistic. I always say that it's holistic, but the SAT score is definitely something we look at and consider pretty heavily. We do it kind of on a sliding scale with other things that you turned in, but some scores that you might want to shoot for is a 600 in math and maybe a 550 in verbal. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I wouldn't say that anything is more important than another part of the application, but there are some ranges that you might want to shoot for, and those are actually listed on our website as well under eligibility. So that might help looking at that graph. What percentage of applicants are invited to interview? What percentage of interviewees are accepted? So we actually have anywhere from 400 to 600 applicants every year. We accept in the ballpark for admission around 200. Now for interview, it's really up to our Assistant Dean of Admissions, Dr. Jones. to see who he wants to interview. Generally, it'd be about 2/3 of the applicants. I think we probably cut a third at the interview stage. So, and he's not hard and fast on that number. He will go up if he feels he needs to go up, or he'll go down if he feels he needs to go down. But by the end of the process, we have 200 admits, I guess, for lack of a better word. If we don't get accepted for early decision, can we apply for regular decision? No. You can only apply for one or the other. Can you super score SAT? Email me and I will find out. That's a really good question. All right, so if we don't have any more questions about application, I will turn it over to Dr. Dubin. So will you slide this way for me so I can introduce you? So Dr. James Dubin is a professor of English, and he is our Associate Dean for Research and Nationally Competitive Scholarships at TAMS. He designed UNT's first ever undergraduate research fellowship, placing students in a year-long relationship with mentors, faculty mentors, I should mention. He's also even authored 2 books devoted to undergraduate excellence, including Be a College Achiever, and his actual edited collection, Social Circumstance and Aesthetic Achievement, Contextual Studies in Richard Wright's Native Son. So I will turn it over to Dr. Dubin now to talk about the wonderful opportunities in research for TAMS.
Well, thank you very much, Mary, and it was delightful to hear your overview of the TAMS experience.
Thank you.
And I personally found it very informative.
Oh,
so
great.
Thank you for that.
I'll slide out of the frame so you can.
Okay, thanks so much.
Of course.
Okay, welcome to this segment of the podcast, and it's really a pleasure to be talking to prospective TAMS students who have an interest in research, and well, you should have that interest in research. So the way I'd like to start off is to ask the question, why? Why should undergraduates conduct research? Why should anybody conduct research? And as you know, at the college level, we not only have undergraduates who are engaged in research, but we have graduate students. We have professors, of course, professors who are principal investigators and lead research teams. Across the disciplines, we have one-on-one research in the humanities. We have research teams in the social sciences. We have mentored research in those fields where, for example, in my own field, in literary studies, we tend to be lone rangers. More often than not, we don't work on teams, but we do work in consultation with others to whom we show our work. And research occurs across the board. And even in the performing arts and the visual arts, creative endeavor encompasses an immense amount of what my colleagues would call their personal research endeavors. So we respect research as our colleagues define it across the disciplines. And since I'm speaking to a prospective TAMS audience tonight, let me phrase my observations about research in the following ways. But much of what I'm going to say will, of course, be applicable to research across the disciplines. So why do we conduct research at the college level, whether it's undergraduate or professorial? We conduct research to create or generate new knowledge. Basically, this is where the field of study is now. This is where it stands to be 5 to 10 years from now. This is what my research team is doing at the moment to progress us from where we are to where we need to be. And this is what my contribution to that research endeavor has been up to this point, that we are all interested in generating new knowledge. Now, of course, these research endeavors go above and beyond the interaction that you will have in your classrooms with your professors, the required coursework, your electives. So above and beyond those obligations, and I might add pleasures, you will have the opportunity, if you seek it out, and I'll talk more about that momentarily, if you seek it out, you'll have the opportunity to conduct research externally on somebody's team, in somebody's lab. And it will, as I'll explain, be your responsibility to seek out those opportunities. And I'll talk a little bit about that momentarily. So we are talking then about a phenomenon that nationally is now known as undergraduate research-based education. And undergraduate research-based education, again, does not preclude the conventional classroom experience. It goes above and beyond that. And across the country, many thousands of undergraduates are engaged in this at this very moment. So how does one go about structuring such an opportunity? Well, the first thing is you have to feel comfortable in your first semester, whether you're in TAMS or whether you would be entering as a conventional college freshman. But in a way, once you enter TAMS, even though you're going to be calling yourselves a TAMS junior, you will, for all practical purposes, be a college freshman in classes with college students. So you have to first feel comfortable in your classes. You have to gauge the level of commitment that you will be expending in fulfilling your, whether it's 12, 15, or even though I don't advise it, 18 hours in your first semester. And once you feel comfortable, that you're settled, that you feel secure in what you're doing, then you ask yourself, okay, at this time in my intellectual life, what is my predisposition? Am I interested more in biology than in chemistry? Am I interested more in material science than in computer science? And where your heart resides, you go to that department and you click on faculty and you see what endeavors our faculty members are engaged in. And you can go to their faculty profiles. You can see what they have recently published in their areas of study and research. And you can go to the library and read some of those articles. And you can read until you feel, oh my goodness, I just love this article. I love this chapter. I would really like to get involved in that kind of research at my earliest convenience. So then you find out when that faculty member has office hours. You go to those office hours, you introduce yourself, and gee, wouldn't it be nice if you could say that I have read your most recent article on this, that, and the other? And you better really have read it closely, because if one of my colleagues says, oh, that's great, what did you think about my position on such and such? You really need to be in a position to answer that question. But you demonstrate that you're all in. And you might be in a situation where a professor is more accustomed to taking in graduate students than he or she is to admitting undergraduates or TAM students into their labs, even though many professors are absolutely dazzled by our undergraduates and TAM students and are very willing to take them into the lab. Nonetheless, the responsibility and initiative must be yours. And I would simply urge you, before you start knocking on doors, feel comfortable and settled in your commitments to your conventional 15 to 18 hour, and once again, I would personally suggest around 15 hours in the first semester, but feel comfortable in your basic studies. So if a professor admits you to the lab, of course, you'll start off where he or she wants you to be. It may not be the most glamorous work at the outset. In some labs, the students who have entered have taken one full semester simply to learn the machinery, simply to learn the lab protocols. And then progressively, the PI, principal investigator, will assign them more and more responsibility. And it is often the case that by the third semester, students are fully engaged with a segment of the research that the professor has given over to them for them to come up with results in this one specific area. And the next semester, the student may and often does have even more responsibility, produces more results. In fact, this is typical of our TAMS students who enter research environments. And that will be you in the future, we hope. So again, the primary reason why somebody is doing this is to generate and be part of the generation of new knowledge. Yes, we know that undergraduate research is now more important than ever to gaining admission to graduate school with full funding, to participating in national and international scholarship competitions. To gaining admission to medical school. It's becoming more and more important for medical schools to see that an undergraduate is engaged in research during those 4 years of the college experience. But those are pragmatic applications of what should at heart be a mission of contributing to knowledge and the intrinsic satisfaction that you have of having made a contribution to your field of study. Now, how do contributions to one's field of study become public? Well, as you know, those become public through publication. So the principal investigator or the professor under whom you're conducting research will be collecting the knowledge from all components of the investigation, including yours. And if that PI deems your contribution to be worthy enough, the professor will choose on his or her own accord to include you as a co-author, a named author on the publication. This happens to our students all the time, frequently, so that even first-year TAMS students, some as young as 16 years of age, and perhaps even younger, have been named authors on publications in very sophisticated scientific journals. But their essential reason for doing this, I believe, has always been at heart the correct reason, that is to contribute new knowledge to the field of study. So we have different venues that allow you to do that. And by the way, during a fall or spring semester, most professors, realizing that you have other classes and obligations, most professors will expect you to be in the lab, let's say 10 to 12 hours per week. But during the summer, they will expect you to be in the lab up to 40 or more hours per week. And I say or more because let's say you're working in a biology lab where you have live animals or other specimens. You simply don't shut off the lights and lock the doors on Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. So we have had students who have worked in excess of 40 hours a week during the summer. So you may be wondering, well, how is that feasible financially? And TAMS has a number of venues to help you there. We have now, as of last year, as Mary noted, an undergraduate research fellowship, and the undergraduate, the URF. The URF allows you a year in advance of when you wish to conduct research, and the other opportunities are far closer to immediate research. But let me do the URF first. So the new undergraduate research fellowship, you would begin to prepare for in a full year before you want to become an undergraduate research fellow. You make application by locating a professor talking about a prospective research project and having that professor sign off on a couple of paragraphs that you write up that he or she approves, and then that research project, as you have authored the précis, goes out to specialists in your field of study at the university, and they will rank your project against those of others. And we now have over 100 undergraduate research fellows who went through this process last year, and they have begun their research this year. At the end of the academic year, they participate in an event that's called Scholars Day at UNT. And at Scholars Day, they have a poster board, they present papers, and compete for financial prizes, best poster board, best paper. And after that, they find $500 deposited in their university account because they have been an undergraduate research fellow. Now, the honor of being an undergraduate research fellow by far outweighs the $500. And it goes on your resume, you are an undergraduate research fellow. And that's big news in terms of a distinction. We have other opportunities, one of them being the TAMS Summer Research Scholarship. Now that's worth $3,000. And you put in a proposal to work with a given professor over the summer following your freshman year. And you will work that 35 to 40 or more hours a week, but you will be receiving $3,000 if you qualify for that. And you have to submit the application and we have to approve it. But that's a way of our funding your research endeavors during the summer. And we also have now an early research scholarship in which we invite a select number of students who are coming to TAMS in the fall to be here early and to work during the summer to get acclimated to the university and to hook up with a research mentor and actually to conduct research 35 to 40 hours or more a week during the summer before they're, as it were, before they're really here. And this worked out very well in our trial run this past summer. And one of the benefits of that as well was that the class not only did research in a lab, but they attended a special class devoted to research concepts. And we met once a week in the evening for dinner. And we had many a fine discussion about what each of the students was doing in his or her respective lab. It was really a grand experience. And those students this year will likely be culled from the early decision applicants if they pretty much check a box suggesting that they want to conduct undergraduate research. In closing, let me say as well that one of the key benefits of research is that the relationship you develop with a research mentor. That research mentor will become your academic champion. That research mentor will become a very good friend for the rest of your life. That research mentor will be writing comprehensive letters of recommendation to help you secure the positions that you aim to pursue, whether those are applying to grad school, applying for nationally competitive scholarships. And those of you who obtain admission to research environments will end up applying for such opportunities as Siemens competition scholarships, STS scholarships, Goldwater scholarships. By the time you get to your not senior year of TAMS, but senior year of college, you will be applying for HERTZ, H-E-R-T-Z, HERTZ fellowships and National Science Foundation graduate research fellowships. You will be applying to graduate school, hopefully not simply gaining admission, but gaining admission with all expenses paid. When you attend graduate school, frankly, you don't want to pay to go to graduate school. You want graduate schools to pay you to attend their combined master's and PhD programs. But how does that happen? Or what criteria do they use or consult? In the main, they will be looking at the quality of undergraduate, of course, grades, of course, letters of recommendation, comprehensive letters of recommendation, but they will be looking for testimony about the quality of the research you did. Were you a co-author in your professor's publication? To what degree have you already contributed to the field of knowledge, foreshadowing a very productive graduate career of research? Now, that can and should be you. There's no question about this. This happens regularly to our TAMS students, and it happens because they take the initiative. The opportunities are here. The main question, once you arrive on campus, will be, will you take advantage of those opportunities? And we trust that the answer to that will be yes. And now I am going to turn this over once again to my colleague Mary, and I'm going to slide over.
I just learned a lot about research as well, so that was really interesting. Thanks so much. Let me see if I can scoot the camera over a little bit so I can get in that frame. And then let me get this mouse, and we'll go ahead and take some questions. If anybody has questions for Dr. Dubin about research opportunities available here at TAMS, or what research projects, that's my question actually. What are some research projects that other TAMS students have worked on in the past?
We've had research projects that deal with solvation in chemistry. We've had research projects on neurobiology. We've had students who go into labs and deal with computer science in highly innovative ways. We've had students in material science who have actually worked on producing materials that help bind muscle to bone.
Wow.
And it's just incredible, the work that our students have done and continue to do in various research labs. One of the undergraduates this past summer in the early research program actually worked on avian species and was in charge of her own birds and did experiments involving avian populations and genetics.
Wow.
So it's just incredible.
Now, do you feel like most TAMS students who come to campus know I want to get involved in research, or do you have some students who are like, I didn't know that this was something that was available to me until I came to TAMS?
I think that through word of mouth, many students who apply to TAMS now realize that the research environments that are available to them exist, and that part of the reason why they are applying to TAMS is to seek out opportunities above and beyond the exquisite educations that they're going to get in any event from UNT professors in the classroom.
Sure.
They want that additional exposure to research. And it's not simply to research. Keep in mind always that when undergraduates conduct research, one of the primary benefits that they're receiving is exposure to research methodology, that they are learning the methodology of a professional in the field of study. Will they necessarily stick with that one methodology for their entire lives? No, they may not. Maybe they will, but it's likely that they'll move on to something else. But they're learning the way professionals think and operate in a disciplined way within their fields of study. And the benefits of that expand far beyond the lab, because the intellectual and mental discipline that they acquire has applications in other venues, including the world of business and so on and so forth.
Okay, wow. Thank you, Dr. Dubin. See, he's brilliant. I tell y'all. He is just a wealth of knowledge, and every time I talk with you, I just learn more and more.
Well, then I must come back for other podcasts.
It's just for me. It's not for anyone else. So I tell you what we'll go ahead and do now. I am going to open it up for just general questions about TAMS for me or Dr. Dubin. I see a couple on here. Alan was asking if an applicant can score 780 plus and they take 740 on the reading or writing, should they take the new SAT again in their junior year? You need to take the new SAT if in your junior, you would need to be applying in your sophomore year. We don't take applications for junior year anyway. So if you're a sophomore now and you've taken the SAT, go ahead and apply because we need you to apply before you're a junior. And I'll go ahead and email you, Alan, just to make sure that I have that all correct. But yeah, you need to apply as a sophomore. Karen, that was awesome. So you're getting great reviews.
Oh my goodness.
Any other questions about TAMS admissions? I think there were some up there that I missed. Or anybody have any questions for Dr. Dubin about research? I think I saw one up there that I missed. How many teacher recommendations needed? That's actually on our website. I believe it's 4. You need one from your principal. You need one from or principal or counselor. So either one. Your high school, preferably high school science teacher, preferably high school math teacher, and then probably an English teacher as well. But those are all listed on our website. Okay, Julie, this is the one I missed. If you complete 3 and 4 years at UNT, there is still no cost, just pay room and board. I actually believe the TAMS to Eagle Scholarship includes room and board. Do you know?
I believe that it is set up to cover the expenses through your senior year of college.
Yes. So if you remained at UNT after you graduate TAMS, you would actually have no cost, all expenses paid. So you would only be paying for room and board for 2 years of college, and then you'd have the rest of your college paid for. So it's a pretty good economical deal.
Great deal.
Okay. Oh, here we go, David. Where can we find some articles published by TAMS Research?
Okay, so this is what you do. First, go to the department where, at least at this point in your careers, your heart resides. Oh my goodness, my future is chemistry. So go to the Department of Chemistry, Google it, Department of Chemistry, University of North Texas, and then click on faculty. And most departments will have a paragraph long summary of each faculty member, his or her pursuits, research interests. But how do you get to the specific publications? Now Google the name of that faculty member with the words University of North Texas faculty profile. Then once you get to the faculty profile, click on publications, and you will see from the most recent publication to the oldest publication everything that that faculty member has published. All that in writing they have contributed to the field of knowledge. Mm-hmm. And these days, most contemporary articles are accessible online, and you will be able, just a click away, mm-hmm. to access their most recent study and to read it and go, wow, this is somebody that I stand to learn, from whom I stand to learn an immense amount. And I would just love to conduct research under their guidance and to learn methodology from them.
And if you're curious specifically about some examples of research that TAMS students have conducted, you can actually just Google Goldwater Scholars, University of North Texas, and all 4 of UNT's Goldwater Scholars this year were TAMS students. So that's a pretty great, big point of pride with us. And is there research listed there, the titles of the research?
I believe it is. And yeah. Let me supplement that, because no university in the country mm-hmm. may nominate more than 4 students per year. And if memory serves me correctly, only 6 universities in the nation last year had 4 Goldwater Scholars. And TAMS, because of the Texas Academy of Mathematics and Science, because all of our Goldwater winners last year were from TAMS, we did have 4 Barium Goldwater scholarship recipients. And that's a really big deal. And
Mhm.
those students were excellent, as you will be when you arrive here and fully become all in when it comes to your academic studies and your research endeavors.
Yeah, so those are great examples. I'm just like halfway in that camera forever. Those are great examples of TAMS students who are who have participated in research. If you want to look at what they've done specifically. Let's see what our next question is. What if I'm taking AP Biology this year? How are AP credits considered? Okay, so this is a really good question, and I should probably add it to my general presentation because everyone always asks it. You cannot use AP credits to supplement or replace TAMS core courses. So even if you got a 5 on on AP Biology, you can't replace the biology requirement that we have here at UNT. Now what you can do, those AP credits might transfer to other universities when you move on from TAMS, or if you remain at UNT, they might supplement whatever your major is, but you can't use them to substitute in for required TAMS credit. Is there rank in GPA? So there's a GPA at TAMS. We do consider your GPA. We actually require that all students have a GPA above a 3.0. If you have a semester GPA below a 3.0, we actually ask you to leave the academy. So GPA definitely exists and we take it very seriously. But we're also very serious about making sure that everyone has the tools they need to make sure they get that GPA. So if we notice you're slipping on a test, we monitor that and we make sure you're in touch with a tutor or someone that can help you out. There is not rank. We don't rank at TAMS. We just, it would be very, very competitive if we ranked. So we don't rank, but we do have GPAs and we take it very seriously. Are there specific days we can go back home? Ooh, that's a great question. So every semester we actually have around 4 of what we call closed weekends. And those are weekends that we say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. We close the building and all the students leave our residence hall. And it's really just a time for our staff to catch up on sleep and kind of just decompress. But it's also a time for you to go home and reconnect with your family and tell them all the awesome things you're doing here on campus. So we have about 4 of those a semester. If you want to take or go home on additional weekends to those closed weekends, we allow you up to three travels your first semester here. So you can request to go home on specific weekends. So say you have a family reunion a certain weekend that's not a closed weekend, you can request to go home for that weekend, and that's totally okay. I also feel like it's important to mention that if you're not staying out past curfew, if you're going away and coming back to McConnell Hall on the same day, that actually doesn't even need to travel. That's just you going out into the world and coming back on time for curfew. So the only thing that we require travel requests for are if you're going to stay outside of the hall that night. I hope that answers your question, Blessing. Oh, David says, thank you very much, and I'm excited about this research.
Great.
There you go.
David, I look forward to meeting you.
Yes.
I look forward to meeting all of you.
Blessing says, how do we meet other students? Oh, that's a great question. When you first arrive at TAMS, we have a lot of orientation activities planned for you so that you can get connected with other students. You'll also have a roommate, so that's an instant friend, right? And we have a lot of, I guess, roommate pairing activities at summer orientation. That's why that date, that June 9th and 10th, is so important, because we do have, I guess, engagement activities there for you to get connected. So it's all for your benefit. But we've really found that most students get connected pretty fast. The community in McConnell is quite hopping. It's very lively and very much a moving, changing thing. So I think you'd have no problem at all finding someone with your similar interests. Alan, my school does not rank students until their senior year, so I do not have a rank at the moment. My school also only has a preliminary GPA. It's sufficient. Yes. So if you just include all of that information in your application, or it's included somewhere on your transcript, we're not going to discount you for not ranking or anything like that. We do consider your school's individual needs. So definitely still apply, just to make a note on your transcript or your application that your school doesn't rank. Is there a place on the application to indicate if you're interested in early research opportunities?
Yes,
Yes.
there will, yes. And once again, this year, early decision
Mhm.
candidates will have that opportunity.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's a benefit of doing early decision is if you already taken the SAT and you're kind of on the fence of whether you should wait to take the SAT again to maybe get a higher score or go ahead and bite the bullet and just do early decision. If you're considering summer research, early summer research, I'd go ahead and do early decision.
Yeah, and part of the reason for considering this year exclusively early decision is that it takes some time to match students with summer research mentors. So we need that extra time.
Did Dr. DeBan say there is a place on the application I can check off if I'm interested? Yes, before junior year. So yes, that was that answer. There we go.
Yes, indeed.
How many years does TAMS usually take off college? Ooh, that's just very direct. So it really depends, and I hate to give that answer. That's like I hate it when people give me the answer, it depends. Like I said, you can have upwards of 72 hours of credit by the time you graduate TAMS. Now, what schools you go to after TAMS may take some of that credit, might take all of that credit, or they might take none of that credit. That's very rare that would happen. But that's going to impact as well as your major. There are some universities that really, if you're a chemistry major and you've taken chemistry with us, and you want to do chemistry at that next school, that school might say, well, we really want you to take our version of chemistry. And that's their prerogative because they have got an excellent program. So it really just depends where you go next and how many hours you take while you're on campus. We do have the option, in addition to our core classes, to take electives if you're in good academic standing. So how many electives you take and how many and what your future goals are is termed as aspirational universities. That's going to affect, I guess, how long it takes you after TAMS to get your undergraduate degree. I would say roughly 2 years would be an appropriate response, but it's definitely going to depend. What freedoms do TAMS students have in commuting within the city of Dallas during weekends at UNT or during weekdays? So we're located in Denton. If you want to commute to Dallas, we do have the train available. There are certain areas in Dallas that we actually restrict our students from going to, and if we find out that they've been there, we actually either have a very serious conversation or we dismiss. It's very we're very persnickety about safety. So as far as freedoms in general, from 6 a.m. until 11 p.m., which is curfew, during weekdays, students are actually free to go out into the world. Like I said, we do have some restricted areas that we have kind of a no tolerance policy on, but beyond that, we trust students to have that independence and maturity to use their time wisely, to use their resources available to them to get around. We have a lot of students that use our bus system up here to get from point A to point B. We have students that participate in community service, and we actually drive them to those community service opportunities. So the freedom is there. The only thing I will say that they don't have the freedom to their first semester is a car. We don't allow students in their junior year to have a car. Their senior, that's considered a privilege. So freedom to pretty much do everything but drive anywhere, if that helps. So David is asking, is an application for financial aid the same as the regular? Yes. So just it's a FAFSA. Yeah, that's the application for financial aid with TAMS is through the FAFSA. So complete the FAFSA. I'll make a tape recording of me saying complete the FAFSA because I think it's so important that everyone just bites the bullet and does it. Now we're even using the prior year for taxes. So yeah, there's no excuse. You can't say I haven't done my taxes yet. No, it's got to be 2 years before you can do it. So do that FAFSA. Being accepted at TAMS, do you only accept SAT scores in the strong category? So we talked about this a little bit earlier. It's on a sliding scale. Generally, what we view as kind of the norm for our SAT scores is kind of a math in a 600 range and a verbal in the 550 range. Again, writing is not required, but if you think it will help your application, we'll certainly take a look at it for you. But so that's kind of the general area that you're looking for. I guess that would be considered strong. But as far as a numerical value, anything around that area is the norm. But we do a holistic application, so keep that in mind. What is the math competition atmosphere like at UNT? For example, does TAMS participate? Yes, we do participate in AMC. And how many students make USAMO, MOP level? So we do have a MAO student club that's for math specifically, and they do participate in AMC. They're very competitive about it. And not all the students are highly interested in specifically competitive math, but the students that are very competitive about it. Regarding USAMO and MOP, I'm not entirely sure. I'll email you, Alan, or you can email me if I don't get back to you by the end of, I guess, probably Monday, and answer that more specifically. But there's definitely a lot of students here that are very interested in competitive math and math competitions. So you'll feel right at home if that is your pick your poison, so to speak. Let's see. That means that the FAFSA needs to be completed like right away, right? So in terms of deadline, I would recommend completing it right away, but there's not a deadline that says if you don't have it done by this date, you won't be considered or anything like that. So I recommend getting it done early just so that it's out of the way, and if you ever need financial aid, even if you don't need it now, what a great position to be in, but right. I always just recommend going ahead and doing it, but it's not like an urgent deadline. Blessing, do we need to wait until you're accepted to complete the FAFSA? Yeah, I would go ahead and wait until it's until you're accepted to complete it. That way you're not wasting your time. Although it does last, so you could use it for later on if you need to. But in general, yeah, go ahead and wait until you're accepted. Do we have any more questions? It looks like that was the end of it. Did I miss anyone? If I did, go ahead and just copy and paste it back in here because I'm going through them one last time to see if we have any last questions. Going once. Oh, here we go. I am interested in some non-STEM related extracurriculars. Great! We have a lot of non-STEM related extracurriculars that I actually didn't get too much of a chance to talk about. We have a sports club. We have a theater club that puts on plays. We have an orchestra and band that, in addition to putting on concerts, goes and performs community service at retirement homes in the area. We also have community service clubs. Our Hope organization actually just only does community service in internationally and locally. We have a diversity club. We have student council. Would I audition for the band I play trumpet? Yes, you could audition for Dull Roar. We have Dull Roar is our music organization that's specifically limited to TAMS, and they have auditions, I guess, at the beginning of the year. If you're really a music enthusiast, as many of our students are, they actually find opportunities to join UNT students in playing music. So as long as you're accepted into whatever ensemble UNT offers through audition or whatever practice, you can participate in that. We don't limit you to not participating in UNT activities. That's definitely something else. And UNT is a great music school.
Yes, and if I may add,
of course,
a good number of students, when competing for nationally competitive scholarships, especially the Barry M. Goldwater Scholarship, will list their musical accomplishments. And at various conferences and conventions that I've attended, I've actually heard a few judges say in passing that they always respect the fact that students have excelled in music, not just because of the aesthetic value of being a musician and appreciating music, but because they realize that math and music emerge from the same parts of the brain. And to be excellent in one often indicates that there is a mathematical acumen on either side.
It's funny, I was in band all 4 years and I've never been a strong math person. So hearing that makes me feel a little bit
better. That's why I said often.
That's why I was like, that was a perfect catch there. So I see Blessings asking, I've heard of seminar. What is that about? So seminar is a class we have once a week for our TAM students on Monday. It's required, and it's just an opportunity for us to meet with all of our students at once. Usually it's by grade. So we'll alternate juniors and seniors by week, and that's an opportunity for us to meet with our students and just have them all in one place at once. So sometimes we talk about mental health and not being stressed during finals. We'll talk about college applications for seniors. That's a hot topic right now, is college applications. Sometimes we talk about research and getting connected with mentored research. So
That's right.
it's a wide variety. It's almost like homeroom. If I was going to equate it to something in a normal high school experience, it's kind of our version of homeroom. Karen asked, what about sports, particularly swimming? Ooh, so TAMS itself, that I'm aware of, does not have a swimming-specific team. And we do have some students who swim competitively for select teams or dive competitively for select teams within their community. But as far as I know, we don't have any students in TAMS who are doing a like TAMS club based around swimming. If there is an intramural swimming league, you're more than welcome to participate in that. The only thing that we're restricted for TAM students is NCAA competitions. So we also have a really great rec center that has a full-length pool. You can go and practice. You use that all the time for free because you're a student here. But as far as competitive swimming, those are kind of your options. It's intramural or select teams in the area.
And you should take advantage
yes.
of that rec center because you need your exercise.
Yes.
And Mary is quite correct, and they have marvelous swim facilities there. And then
it's like a $25 million rec center.
It's amazing. A climbing wall, weights and such.
It's phenomenal.
Oh yes, yes.
Alan says, what I meant by my earlier question is that after we accepted to TAMS, would you recommend taking an SAT? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. Taking the SAT a second time for college admissions with the aforementioned test scores, aka we should focus on improving our SAT scores so that we don't have to take it again in junior TAMS. That's a really interesting question, and I tell you what I'll do. I'll email and talk with our college counselor, Sharon Van. She's the college admissions counselor for TAM students specifically. So she only works with TAM students on getting into these really competitive and prestigious universities and programs. I'll ask her if that's something that generally happens. I haven't heard of it, but that doesn't mean that it's not happened before or that it's a best practice. Sorry, Dr. Duvan. Dr. Duvan doesn't like the term best practice. So I'll find out for you, and I will email you. Let me make a note. Can I borrow your pen, Dr.
Yes,
Duvan?
please do. Yes.
Email Alan. I will definitely email you about that SAT for college admission. Okay.
And Sharon Van is our college admission guru.
Yes, guru. Yes. She's deserving of that title.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Let's see. Blessing. Is there any way to tour the campus because all the spots on preview day are sold out? So you can definitely come up to campus and tour it with UNT. Now that won't be a TAMS specific tour. If you let them know that you're TAMS, they might go ahead and show you around a little bit differently. But as far as a tour beyond preview day in November, we do have preview days in March. So if you want to go ahead and apply, we do have another preview day in March that is available. That would be a tour as well. Beyond that, though, we really don't have another opportunity that's TAMS specific. You're more than welcome to come up with me, and I can maybe show you around. Just email me, and we'll set up a time that works for both of us, and I can try and talk to you a little bit more about that.
And in that same vein, if you are on campus and you want to talk about research placement, please feel comfortable. We're two doors down.
Right next to each other.
Right next to each other. Right.
We're a lively office.
A lively, yes.
Alan, okay, hearing from TAMS alumni. Ooh, what happened here? I think I scrolled a little bit too fast. There we go. Hearing from TAMS alumni, is it true that TAMS students have access to UNT clubs and sports facilities? Yes. Like I said, the only thing that we're restricted on is NCAA collegiate league competition. But other than that, any intramural clubs, any intramural sports you're allowed to do, any clubs at UNT. So UNT has a Korean culture exchange club that I was part of back in the day. You're more than welcome as a TAM student to be part of that, and we have a few TAM students who are, and that's open to all UNT students. So backpedaling a little bit, we have 40 clubs specifically for TAM students that other students aren't allowed to be part of. Other university students aren't allowed to be part of, but TAM students are more than welcome to be part of any university UNT clubs. So yes. The answer to your question is a definite yes. Okay. Alan says, I currently participate in Marathon Running Club that is local to Houston. Is admittingly time-consuming extracurricular, but I've been committed to it for almost 2 years. How might I continue to pursue this passion at TAMS? At TAMS, that's why I also have some time for STEM extracurricular too, so it's not just about running. You sound just like our students, honestly. We have a lot of students who are very committed to physical fitness, and running is a popular pastime of a lot of our students, so I'm sure you'll be able to find some comrades in that endeavor.
And especially if you use a day planner.
Yes.
And you enter into your day planner meticulously the minutes of the day that you want to devote, not to your extracurricular activity. Enter the hours of the day that you want to devote to study.
Yes.
Enter the minutes of the day.
There we go.
that you want to devote to your extracurricular activities. And if you plan it out, including planning out your sleep. I was in a recent meeting with the TAMS administration, and the TAMS psychologist was saying that it's absolutely necessary that students get somewhere between an average of 7 to 8 hours of sleep to function academically and optimally. But if you put all that in a day and night planner,
it helps.
It helps immensely to live by a planner, and then you can plan for your extracurriculars and enjoy those.
Yeah, no, it's, and we have a lot of students that I guess struggle at first when with the independence and time management that TAMS allows. Like I said, you're not going to school from 8:30 to 3:30. You're going to school when your classes are, and there's a lot of time in between those classes that we help you use productively. And it's kind of a learning experience of having that independence. So there are a lot of people who could help you balance those things, but there are definitely people who would share those interests with you.
And color code your day planners so that you don't get mixed up because there's so much entered into them.
Absolutely. Julie is asking, if invited to interview, can you shadow the students the day before the interview, like on 120? I think so. I'm pretty sure Spend a Day, that's what we call our shadowing experience, Spend a Day, is offered before interview days as well. So that should be an option for you. And I believe it's up on Eventbrite. If you go on our webpage to About TAMS and scroll down to where it says Spend a Day and click Register, it should be one of the options. So it'd be, I think it's going to be on the 20th. Yes. And then let's see if we've got any more here. Karen asks, took the SAT, can the score from the December 3rd score apply towards early decision? No, which is kind of crummy. December 3rd won't make our deadline for the December 10th. They won't arrive to us in time. So just go ahead and apply for regular decision then. Or if you've taken it before, use those prior scores if you can. So that's a decision for you. Alan, oh, thank you. I'm glad that was helpful. Awesome. David, what math do we start with? Wait, what math do we start with pre-cal? So actually, when you come to interview, we have you do a math test, and that math test is considered very heavily in your decision scores. We ask you to study for it, all sorts of things, just to make sure that you have that math competency there to prepare you for the academic rigor of college classes. And then once you're admitted into TAMS, we have summer orientation. So again, mandatory, June 9th and 10th. We have a math placement test. And that is when you find out, I guess, where you would be placed with math. We have some students start out with pre-cal. We have some students start out with calculus. And we've even had students who are just math wizards and end up in like advanced problems in linear algebra or linear calculus, things like that. So, and clearly I'm not a math person, so that's beyond my scope of expertise, but we have students in a range of math abilities. So it really depends. We ask students to not prepare for the placement test, prepare for the math test at interview day, but not for the placement test, because we want to make sure that you're placed where you need to be, not where you're like aspiring to be, if that makes sense, because then once the semester starts, you'll just really feel bogged down. Can you apply for early decision and regular decision? No, you got to pick one. Hate to be the person who makes you decide, but you got to pick one. David. Oh, good. I'm glad. We got a big long one. Alan, I'm very excited about applying to TAMS. What are the best steps I can take at this moment to increase my chances of acceptance? I have a lot of competitions in spring, so it will be late for early admissions. Okay, so what I tell people when they're asking about what they can do to increase their odds of admissions or acceptance, number one, make sure that you're indicating to us that you are very motivated and academically up for a challenge. We like students who want to challenge themselves academically, who don't want to rest on their laurels, and really want to pursue something special and different and unique. So show us in your application, your personal statement, and those short answer questions that that's something that you're interested in. I also always just say, make sure that you have accepted academic challenges. So I think you're probably in 10th grade, Alan. So at this point, it's kind of like, well, you're applying now. But to middle schoolers, I always say, make sure you're taking AP classes and honors classes when they're offered to you, because that shows up on a transcript and we kind of wonder and go, why did you not take that academic challenge if you're interested in challenging yourself? So do you have something to...
Well, and I think in that spirit, it's also helpful when in an essay, whatever essay you are asked to write, if you show us the way the gears work in your mind, rather than simply stating, I took this, that, and the other, and I got this grade, that grade, and so on, that if you can dramatize the thinking process that you undertake in your own worldview, in your own vision of science or the arts, or what makes you tick, and how is your thinking process unique in that sense, I think that's always helpful to reviewers, to be able to recognize that your personal initiative, the way you, as it were, connect the dots, is really something very special.
Yeah, that's a great answer. It really just putting time and effort into your personal statements and essays really makes a difference when it comes down to making those decisions for the admissions committee. And I will say one closing thing, make sure you prepare for that math test if you're invited to an interview. Study for the math test. The admissions math test, not the placement math test, two different things. But yeah, that math test does have some pretty big, I guess, implications for your mission, so don't just blow it off. I think, David, Alan answered your question there in the chat window, which is great. So the how many teacher evaluations do you need, and can I bring extra to the interview? TAMS website requires, and this is correct, English, math, science, and a counselor or principal recommendation. And like I said, these are, you need to have that waiver form attached, whether or not you waive your rights to view your recommendations. And we won't consider a recommendation if it doesn't have the waiver form attached. So that's on y'all. Make sure that that's attached as well. As far as bringing extra supplemental recommendations to the interview, you can. I'm not sure if we'll consider them, but you know, if you have that many people willing to write recommendations for you, how nice.
And if you are in an interview and when you are asked a question and you're responding, use your professional voice.
Yes.
Project your voice, and always remember, because you're all so brilliant, and you wouldn't be applying to TAMS if you didn't have really the intellectual faculties to apply yourself in the STEM disciplines. So if you're that intelligent, always remember, when you're answering a question exquisitely, it never hurts if people can hear what you're saying.
Yes, yes. Speaking loudly is something that really helps, I feel like, in terms of looking confident and looking like you know what you're talking about. That's a true fact.
Yes, just make sure you know what you're talking about.
Very true. Yeah, don't just act the part. You got to actually know what you're doing. Alan, I see you have another question. Would I email the waiver form first and then the teachers would email the recommendations directly to you, or should I forward it to TAMS? You could email the form first. I think that's what we would go ahead and recommend, and I'll email you, Alan, about that as well, just to double check. I'm like 90% sure that you go ahead and get us that waiver form first, and then your teachers would actually do it online. So let me just follow up about that email waiver. All right. Am I missing any more questions? I think we might have gotten through all of them. Oh, could you email me? David, would you like, what exactly would you like me to email? I'm so sorry, I'm not understanding. Do you want more information about the recommendations specifically? The answer to Alan. Okay. So I will email both of you that the process for the recommendations. I believe it's listed on our website, so if y'all can double check that for me, that'd be great. And we're also having a little bit of a pitch for our next time, our next webinar on the 7th. It's going to be all about admissions. So for all of your admissions questions and things that I am not qualified to answer or just don't know the answer to, we're actually going to have as our guest speaker next week, or next 2 weeks from now, November 7th, goodness. That's going to be Dr. Jones, our Assistant Dean of Admissions. So look forward to that. I hope you all come out and see us. And once you close out of the webinar, you'll actually be asked to take a survey for us. If you could fill that out for me, it would really help out in making these better for future generations. So go ahead and fill that out for me. And I hope you all really enjoyed our time here today. I know we did.
We had a grand old time
we
at the
loved
opera.
it.
Yeah, it was great.
So yeah, and I did go ahead and put the PDF version of this slideshow today in the materials section, so you can download that as well if you're interested. I'm going to list my email down here at the bottom. It's also going to be listed on the survey, so if you have any questions at all, feel free to email me or call me. I am here almost all the time, so feel free to reach out to me. And I hope to hear from all of you soon. I hope we get all your applications, and I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Have a great night. Bye.